Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. It's Brendan. Thanks for joining me again. So I have something cool to show you today. I am going to step out of my comfort zone and I am going to try something completely new, something that I've never done before. And I'm going to share my thoughts and my opinions with you guys. So, to get to that, well, here's the layer, right? The layer's a mess. There is stuff everywhere. I can't show you what I'm going to show you because I got stuff all over the place. Let's get this stuff cleaned up. Why is it like this, though? Let me show you. So this is an old 2010 kit from Hobby King. This is a fiberglass fuse, build-up, sheeted wing Bayhawk. So this is a 90 mil ducted fan, roughly 46 inches in wingspan, discontinued plane, picked one up, brand new, couldn't pass up the deal I got on it. So I'm throwing this together, and what are we powering it with? We are going to power it with an Eflux RC jet fan, 90 mil. So still got the ductwork and stuff to do with that thing. Castle Creations 130 amp ESC HEC motor in this. I think we're going with a 1680 if I remember what it was correctly with this. But yeah, 90 mil jet fan from Eflux RC. So that's what's going to be using this thing for power system, and that's what I've been messing around with. But guys, this place is a disaster. I'll be right back. Poof! It's magic. All right, place is clean. It's manageable clean. It's not perfect, but it's clean. So what are we working on? Time to get into this thing. Got a box. What is the mystery box? I got two other boxes in a bigger box. I have never in my life before done FPV. Wanted to try it, have not done it. Motion RC recently came out with their own line, the XWave FPV goggles. Entry-level price. Know nothing about FPV. If you came here for expert advice, not going to happen. If you came here for, hey, I'd like to give that a shot, I'm going to be your guinea pig. So I've never done this before, short of putting on a pair of goggles and someone else flying a drone. So I'm willing to give this a shot and see what happens, because through Motion with the XWave stuff, the price is right. Give it a shot and see what happens. This plane that's from them is also towards the lower end of the scale. But what do we got here? We got an XK A1200 rear pusher motor. So you're going to unbox this stuff with me. We're going to check out the goggles. We're going to go fly this stuff. I'm going to put a bunch of footage together and let you know what my thoughts are. So let's get into the boxes and see what we really have. This is what I got today. Bigger box, smaller box, and that box. So when we open this up, this is the case for the FPV. And pretty much, well, just like you see it, nothing has been opened. So first is first. We're going to open up, see what we get. So I like the case. Nice case to keep everything in. Got an instruction book in there. This stuff, James from Motion RC actually did a shoot Friday on the FPV stuff, introduced it out to the market. The stuff is already sold. I guess they're waiting on other stock to get back in. So I actually picked up a couple things from watching that. I'll include the link in the description below so you guys can check that out. You'll learn more from him than me on actually how to do setup. I'm just letting you know from a buyer's perspective what I see as we go through this. So check out the link if you want to learn a little bit more, but let's see what we got in here. So we have this Patro's broadcast antenna. We have a diversity antenna. So according to what I learned on Friday, this thing will transmit out the face of the goggles out to everything, and the diversity antenna will get you signal around you. So without this one, that one wouldn't really work to get signal there. So you need both to get signal 360. Looks like we got maybe some type of audio cable. And then we have our typical charge cable. So this thing has a couple caps, and it looks like these things then will just screw onto here. And I'm going to assume that that thing there is going to face out. And this one, so they both seem to be the same size and they fit right on there. The instructions is only like 2 pages. There really doesn't seem to be much there. So you guys can kind of see they go through the menu function with you. It's not a very robust instruction book. So I hope this is beginner, and that is how they advertise everything, is beginner. It's entry level. So I don't expect the top quality here. I don't expect the best video, but I expect it good enough to do what I want to do with it, which is beginner FPV. So the goggles initially, they're very light. There's not much weight to these things at all. I wish I had my scale down here with me. I don't. I'll have to go get that and I can weigh this stuff out for you. But anyway, the goggles don't seem to weigh much. Straps seem to be pretty nice. The cushions on the front around the cheek feel pretty good. Around the face feel a little lighter. The case feels like a cheaper plastic. The screen, I did go with the 5-inch on these things rather than the 4.5. I figured a little bit of extra viewing room won't be bad, but they seem pretty decent so far. We got the power button, search button, so it will auto function to find the best channel and band for you to broadcast over and receive. And I also got the camera with this thing. So the camera on this is a ZO HD. ZO HD makes a bunch of different products, and according to James, it's one of the best in the market. So what do we got in this thing? I did open this up earlier just to pop the case off, and I actually brought something down here with me to kind of give you guys a reference. I'll get the box open. All right, there we go. This thing's super tiny. I did not expect this thing to be this tiny. So I brought something down here with me just to give you guys an idea of scale, size-wise, exactly how big this camera is. This is a regular quarter. So compared to a run cam, this thing weighs nothing. And I do have a run cam, and I'm going to throw it on this plane. And it's got this little funky antenna. So I am going to mount this thing using and powering up maybe through a JST, maybe even look at the battery here on the XK, and maybe just go off the balance lead. We'll see how I'm going to power that up. But I do want to put this thing on a servo that rotates, so not only can I see forward, but I can also, I'm going to put mine on a switch. I want mine just to go from here to another 90 to a 90 this way to be able to see all the way around. So that's my intention. So off to this thing. So let's get the goggles. First impression is it seems pretty neat. The camera is super tiny. Directions seem to be lacking. Not a whole lot there. Camera seems to be super cool. This is just the lens cover on the front, so you can actually see there. Probably broadcasting a shadow over it. So let's get this stuff off to the side. Let's get this this thing open. Why did I go with this? If you notice the pusher prop, one of the things with FPV, and especially this, I want to start off by hand launching stuff. And when I hand launch, because your face is in here, I don't want to have to worry about a prop, nothing from the back and underneath, nothing from the front. So I can hold it, give this thing a nice chuck and take off. And then as time goes on, I'll move the camera maybe into some faster models or, you know, different models just to experiment and try things out. But for now, we wanted to go with something semi-small, easy to fly, light, and I don't have to worry about the prop whacking me. So this thing is supposed to be ready to fly as it is, which for the price kind of surprised me. Thing's fairly cheap. And it comes with a radio, battery, charger, the whole 9 yards. So here's a lithium ion LiPoly 7.4, so a 2-cell balance charger. Okay. We have a power pack for it. More junk foam. Comes with a special XK radio for this thing. I don't know if I'm going to be able to power bind this thing up to my high tech. I think I'm going to try it, but comes with its own funky radio. Like I said, this FPV thing, no research. I did no research. I wanted to try it because the price is right, and little wing panels. Are these hinged? No. So we'll probably put some hinge tape in there. I'm not a big fan of the styrofoam hinges because after a while they do break, and unfortunately they break at really bad times. Looks like maybe a wing spar, carbon square tube. Hinge tape, blended derm tape you can get off at Amazon and stuff like that. Looks like maybe a solid connection right there. Blended derm tape is very cheap insurance. Oh, look. Extra prop and some tools. That's kind of cool. Some screws. Rudder assembly. Again, nothing has real hinges in it, just those styrofoam hinges. So anytime you get this, again, really cheap insurance, little 1/2-inch blended derm tape in there. The stuff literally costs nothing. And here's my little submarine. It says FPV here on the side because they do have an FPV version. I noticed that Motion don't have the FPV version, or at least I couldn't find it. But got an Allen wrench down in there. It feels kind of heavy. So just got some magnets and hooks. So this is where we're going to put our FPV stuff, I think, right up here in the nose. James did say to keep it out in the open to keep it cool. We got ourselves a LiPoly in there, 2-cell, already comes with a battery. Got our ESC just check eponymous in the back there. Oh, look. Is that another? So we'll have one connector to power the ESC there. And that's a male. Oh, cool. So it already has the hookup. Look at that. It already has the hookup in there. So the camera is going to have... I always get these connectors goofy, but anyway, I base them off the socket, not off the pin. So we're going to call that the female connector there. And this thing off the ESC already has the male. So it's almost like I have very, very little, if any, work to really do on the inside. Now, this also has a gyro in it, which is surprising. So the receiver, as you see that thing right there, is a receiver / gyro. So that's going to be another one of the cool features for this, is you can also have gyro stability. That should help with the camera view and everything else. And it has bank angle limitations, almost like safe. So that gives you the ability to really be careful as you learn FPV. That's my thought. That's what I'm thinking, right? So until I try it, who knows? But that gives you the ability not to overdo it, stall it, and then go in. So this is all going to be new to me, out of my comfort zone, because that FPV thing I was always worried about. So pretty cool. Let's get to the build. Let's time lapse. We'll time lapse this. We'll get out to the field. We'll get some footage later. All right, guys. So let's talk about some things. I've had a chance to do the time lapse. Let's talk about this plane. So The XK A1200, this thing was literally 2 screws, no directions. It took 15 seconds to put together. Literally has to be the easiest plane in the world. Everything just snaps right into place. 2 screws in the tail to hold it on. All the wings, they snap and they click in. Everything is kind of pre-wired and pre-set up. When you're talking about a plane that's ready to go and what this comes with, you're quick out of the box. The rest of the Chinglish kind of directions, not very helpful. So RC Groups was a good source to go get some information. But let's talk about some things that I've found and I noticed here. So first off, the connectors that come into the receiver gyro. This winds up using the FHSS protocol. So that is going to be Futaba. So using my Spectrum radio with this is out. I would have to pull that receiver out and throw it away. The problem with doing that is all the servos have these very, very tiny inside. You can see those. Those are JST SH connectors, so they're super small. So even though there is an open port there on the board and on this radio there's a couple extra switches, the programming in the radio is locked. You could probably pick up one of those connectors and try and get that thing wired in there. Probably more aggravation than what it's worth. So for me to put a servo that's going to pivot on a switch, it's not going to happen. So for this plane, for what it is, I'm not going to be super upset if something happens to this in the process of me learning FPV. So I'm okay with that. Again, one of the biggest things that I like is the rear prop, and where I mounted the camera on this thing, it plugs right in. It's already into there in the receiver / gyro. I just made a little plastic mount for it that goes through the nose, and that thing will sit right in here like this. So I'm going to tuck that wire in there just a little bit differently when I get ready to fly, but the cover snaps in and you can see how that thing is going to sit right there. And then you don't see the propeller spinning in front of the nose here and messing up the video because everything's in the back. So the plane has some benefits to it. Very quick, very simple, and as you can see, let me try and get this thing clicked in here for you guys just so you can see it. So this thing has its version of safe. Now this plane's been out for a while. This isn't a new plane, but you can hopefully see those control surfaces and hear the things move. But it does have some gyro assist to it to keep the thing stable. So I like that. And then you can actually easily turn that on and off here with this switch. This kind of looks like a Spectrum knockoff, if you will. Decent little radio that came with it for what it is. Everything ready to go. Not a bad price. So let's talk about what we were talking about with the setup. So what I've seen so far I like and don't like. If you guys can see in there, the picture is good. Down there at the, trying to get the straps out of the way. So down there at the bottom on the left, you see it's channel A2, the frequency in the 5.8. I guess it's megahertz. I have it set up for 200 for a power rating. You see that there's your receiver voltage and the time running is 36 minutes. And then also up there in the top, you can see your camera output is also set to channel A2. So when you go to use the search function on the headset, I noticed my search function, if I go and change, you actually have to use this small little switch right here in the sequence. They have the directions here for it. And there's some LEDs here on the back side. You have to use the LEDs in order to set this up. This is going to change channels with the LED. You're going to have to make this match by using the channel and the band. The auto search function really only seemed to pick up the right channel when I was on band A. Anywhere else in band B or the FR, whatever the other bands are there, the auto search function didn't seem to pick it up. Not a big deal. I don't know that it's going to matter unless you're in a place maybe with a lot of other people on the same frequencies and stuff. I don't know how much that's going to matter. From a beginner, it's not overly complicated. I can understand. So what you see on the screen here in the goggles on the bottom left has to match what's up there in the top right. So you're only going to really get a clear view on one of them. Maybe some of the other ones, it kind of comes in, but it's a little distorted. So you really know where you should be. So that's not overly complicated. I like the simplicity and the weight and the size. That wasn't a big deal. It wasn't hard to wire into my choice of planes. But the one thing that I can tell you so far that I am disappointed with, the SD card slot in here. I have a couple different micro SD cards that can go in there, and they only fit in one way, so you can't really mess that up. You use the menu button and you scroll down to the bottom. You go to format. I can't format a card. I can't find it. You go to use the record button right there, and it says no SD card found. So this is supposed to record your flight footage for you. So if I wanted to actually throw a run cam on here as well as this, and record through the headset, right now I'm not going to be able to do it. So even though from a beginner standpoint or a beginner point of view, what I am capable of using, I'm having problems with. And when you go to said manual that you get and you look in there, there's really no specifics on what SD card, or micro SD card, I should say, that you actually need for this thing. So you can spend a lot of money trying to guess. Hopefully that's something that will come out. Being that this is a new product, maybe the information's not out there and it needs something specific. Or do I already have a bad set of goggles? I don't know, but the thing really hasn't even made it to the field yet, and that's kind of like a big downside. For the rest of it, though, it is fairly simple to use. I do like the camera quality that I am seeing through there, and for the most part, it's fairly plug and play right out of the gate. There's not a whole lot to mess with, so if you just want basic plug it in, go fly it, I think this is going to work pretty well. I can't wait to get it out to the field. I'm going to fly the plane first, make sure everything's good, put a pair of goggles, the goggles on my buddy, let him watch it, and then I'll try some FPV here. So let's get out to the field and see what we think. All right, guys, so we're going to get in this flight footage. Let's see what happens. All right, guys, so let's wrap up what we think of the new XWave goggles from Motion RC, and a little bit about what I've learned along the way. So first things with the goggles off a full charge, I'm getting about a 15 to 20 minute flight out of this thing, and it drops 1 to 2 bars on the goggles. So you're going to probably get about 2 long FPV flights out of this before probably a recharge. I did work on the SD card. I had another one. I tried that thing out. It is a 64 gig SD card. It was smaller than the 126 or 128, whatever it was, that I was initially trying. So much smaller SD card. It accepted it, formatted, and the goggles work as they were supposed to. So what are my thoughts from up there? I went with the 400 watt rating on the camera, which took a little bit to get adjusted to setting up the camera and the goggles to match. Again, not hard for a beginner, just takes a little bit of time to learn. No FPV expert, I'm just telling you my initials from as a consumer, beginner, purchaser. Overall quality from 200 to 400, I like the 400 a lot better. I can get a little more distance, a little bit more height. The picture isn't perfectly clear, but it's enough for me to learn and get used to this. I do enjoy that XK, the 1200 glider. It's more of a glider than it is powered. It doesn't fly great under power, but it does okay gliding. I like that feature much better. It's smoother, it's slower, it's easier for me to manage. On a windy day like it was up there today, it does tend to drift a little bit more, and for a beginner FPV, learning how to land is a little harder, thanks to my wife who was help spotting me out here, so I'm not by myself. I encourage you to use a spotter when you're doing the FPV. Stay safe, make sure you're not flying over anybody's house or their property to upset anybody. But I like the height, I like the distance. I got pretty far away from myself, still within visual line of sight. For the 130 bucks for the package for the camera, I don't think you can go wrong. I'm going to actually experiment with this thing, throw it on some other planes that are actually regular flying planes, not gliders, and I think we'll start to grow with it. I actually kind of like this stuff, and pretty neat, so I'm glad I tried it. Get yours at Motion RC, the XWave. I went with the 5-inch goggles. Again, if you like it, comment down below if you have any questions. Thanks again for joining me on my channel, guys. Share this stuff. I appreciate you taking the time to watch it, and throw me that like button in there. So peace out. Go get yourself a set of XWaves.